So I got a new computer. Here's my old one. I'm sending it back to Apple for trade-in value just because I didn't want to deal with the hassle of selling it somewhere else. I had the old computer, my preamp, and my interface racked up in this little sidecar shelf that I built. I built it from scratch. The whole thing cost like 90 bucks, I think. And my new computer is a 2022 Mac Studio. I got the baseline model, but I did get the RAM maxed out on it. So I've been working on Mac Minis for about 10 years now. I originally got into them because they were expandable. If you're like me and you work heavily in audio production and now video production, you want a powerful machine that can handle all of the processing you need. And back in the day, the Mac Mini was well liked amongst the audio community because you could open it up and mod the processor, the RAM, the hard drive, whatever else. Then in late 2012, early 2013, Apple started gluing down the inside of the Mac Mini to prevent that. It sucks, but you know, they're a business, I get it. For a few years after that, there was quite a market for mid-2012 Mac Minis, the last model before that started. That was my desktop computer for several years. I think I went through like 3 hard drives on that thing. But as the years went on, as it typically goes, the standard Mac computers started offering, for reasonable prices, processors and amounts of RAM that the 2012 Mac Mini just didn't have the architecture to handle. But I've always liked the size, the price, and mostly the straightforward approach of the Mac Mini. I have my monitor, my interfaces, my peripherals, etc. I want as many pennies of my purchase as possible to go towards the actual performance of the computer. So for the past year, I've been busier than I ever have been on the production front, producing, writing, remote session work, making videos. As many of you know, my day job is writing songs for a company called Songfinch, so I'm cranking out really polished demo level recordings of new songs by the dozen on a daily basis. And I started this YouTube channel, and video production is no joke when it comes to needing a powerful computer. So I make a living writing, recording, producing, mixing, editing, and exporting from this desk every single day. So this new computer really was a business investment. I mean, I'm definitely writing it off on my taxes. Now, there are definitely some purchases that I make that are less than necessary. Do I really need this many guitars? Probably not. I mean, how different can one guitar sound from another? I have a shelf full of guitar pedals not getting used, but I keep them because they will be useful in a particular application. But when you work in a creative field making stuff like I do, inspiration has value. I mean, inspiration has a literal monetary value. Think about it. It's worth it to wisely invest in things that keep you inspired, keep you excited about creating, because if you let that well dry up, you're going to be out of a job pretty quickly, or even if you keep working, you've lost the joy of what you're doing, which is not sustainable. But in a lot of ways, this was a utilitarian purchase. I needed an efficient machine for what I do every day. Obviously, it's a big upgrade in terms of video production. I've never had this powerful a graphics processor before, so I definitely noticed the GPU upgrade when I'm working with footage in Final Cut Pro. And now I have 64 gigs of RAM, which is insane. I haven't seen how far I can push the processor quite yet. Andrew Huang did a funny video on Twitter about putting 1,000 OTT plugins on a single track to see if the computer could handle it. It kind of did. I couldn't really tell because the sound was so ridiculous. But the number one reason for the upgrade is how often I'm hitting export. I'm exporting something out of Ableton, Logic, or Final Cut at least 24 times a day, if not more. And depending on the session I'm working with, it can take a minute to spit out the file. If upgrading computers cuts that time in half, imagine how much time cumulatively I'm shaving off of my workflow. It makes me more efficient at cranking stuff out so I can get back to creating and spend less time watching YouTube videos while I'm waiting on an export to finish. So the question is, should you upgrade to a fancier computer? My initial answer is probably not. If you've watched this channel any, you probably already know I'm a big advocate for taking what you've already got and making it work. You don't need fancy stuff to make high quality music. You just need an educated and inspired brain, some good ears, and some developed instincts. If you know what you want and how to get it, you can make the best sounding track on the planet using stock plugins on the cheapest software on the cheapest computer. So what's the benefit of a new computer? A computer isn't exactly inspiring the same way that a new guitar or a new pedal is. Now, obviously working faster means you can get more stuff done. When your gear eats up a lot of minutes and hours of the time you spend working on music, that really affects your output. Just the same way you don't want gear that's constantly breaking, you don't want a computer that you have to spend most of your time sitting waiting on it to process something or load something up. It's the same logic of you don't want a car that you spend more time fixing than actually driving. The second is, again, inspiration. I think one of the most underrated keys to high quality, high output creativity is speed. Ideas have an awful tendency of just floating away, so when inspiration strikes, I don't want to be slowed down by my gear. It's why I have keys next to my desk. It's why I have all my guitars on a rack 5 feet away from me. It's why at my feet there's a DI and a guitar cable that's always hooked up to my preamp and my audio interface. So if I have an idea for a guitar part, it's going to take me about 10 seconds to be plugged in and ready to record. So if there's less time waiting, that's less time between idea and execution. So really, I could consider this both a utilitarian and an inspirational purchase. In a lot of practical ways, it helps me create better, and that'll definitely pay for itself pretty quickly.
Ready?
Yeah. Wow! There's 4 us. Wow! That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's got little dots on it.